How's it going, Raider Nation? It's JT coming at you with another episode of the East Coast pregame show with my friend NJ Raider Nation. How are you doing today, NJ?
Just got to drop the breaking news. I mean, it's a huge day. Huge day. So
yeah,
can't
we're
wait
recording this on Wednesday, December 28th, and the news of Derek Carr being benched for the final two games just dropped. Jarrett Stidham is now QB1 for the Raiders for the final two games, despite the fact that we have playoff hopes still technically alive, a little over 1% chance of it happening, but there was a whole slew of things that need to happen. The Jets needed to lose this week, but win week 18. The Pats needed to win this week, but lose week 18. The Dolphins need to lose their last two games, and the Steelers need to lose one more game. The Titans need to lose to Jacksonville, and then we need to beat the number one defense in the league and then the number one offense in the league in back-to-back weeks. It was basically impossible from any perspective, especially the fact that Chandler Jones is out for the season. Denzel Perryman is out for the season. I can't see Rocky Sin coming back, but he might come back just to play for his contract. You have a bunch of other players. You have undrafted free agent playing for, they get their tape out there, especially at the linebacker position. You have Darian Butler and Luke Masterson coming in to play. You have a lot of players playing for contracts coming up. You have a lot of players, just trying to play for the rest of the season. Josh Jacobs trying to get that rushing title. Max Crosby trying to put out more reason for him to be an all-pro, which he should be. Devontae Adams, would like to have more catches than just 3 in a game again. All stuff like that. But the big news is obviously Carr. That's huge. I mean, 9 years, one quarterback, and now, in my opinion, me and NJ kind of are differing on this, but I think this spells the end of the Carr era, just because of timing, contract, how he's played this season, all that stuff. But how do you feel about it, NJ?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a huge move. Josh McDaniels clearly was, a little maybe nervous. You could tell he wasn't too thrilled to, I guess, make that announcement, because it is a massive announcement. I mean, it's probably one of the biggest storylines of the NFL this season, I would say. Because, you have a 9-year vet getting benched the last two games, starting, the backup quarterback the last two games. And technically, like you said, playoff, there's like a 1% chance that the Raiders make the playoffs. I don't think that matters too much, because if there was like, let's say, a 30% chance or like a better chance to make the playoffs, there's no way this would have happened. So I'm thinking that they're, going into this, like, last two games of the season, let's let Stidham get in there, start a game, start his first NFL game and get him some reps. And I'm thinking that this is more of an experimental thing. Let's see what, a different quarterback in there can do with, some of the best weapons in the league. I mean, coming into the season, people said the Raiders were going to be one of the top offenses in the league. Saying he has the same weapons that Carr did. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. And I think that's kind of the reasoning for this. And, there's that whole contract situation with, keeping Carr healthy, which I'm sure you're going to want to talk about. So I do not think that this is the end for Carr with the Raiders. I more so am looking at this as, like I said, an experimental thing. Why bother playing Carr if we're not going to go to the playoffs kind of thing? But only time will tell. And, from day to day, week to week, more news comes out. This, that, my opinion, can change pretty quickly. But as of right now, that's kind of where I stand.
Yeah. And I mean, that definitely makes sense. You don't, you obviously don't want to risk Carr getting hurt just in general, because then that could affect going into next season if you do end up keeping him, stuff like that. But the big reasoning is that if he doesn't pass a physical 3 days following the Super Bowl, he will get his money guaranteed for the next 2 seasons, meaning that we're stuck with him unless someone trades for him. But right now, we can save $29 million if we cut him and he's healthy following the season. We only have a dead cap hit of $5 million if we end up trading him. So that's a ton of money. We're right now still top 10 in cap money going into 2023 with, I believe, about $30 million. But add in that Carr money and we're upwards of $60 million in the top 3 with 10 picks in this upcoming draft. A ton of, needs, especially on the defensive side, and a lot of good free agency. So if we can, re-sign some guys, get some guys to bring in, using that money from Carr, and then see what we can do either in the draft or in free agency to get QB. That's where I think they're headed. But I don't know how the QB situation is going to shake out if he does go away. There's a lot of options that could happen. But another reason why I think this means he's done is because Gruden. There was one season, 2018, where we weren't making the playoffs, but he didn't bench Carr. He wanted to see what he could do. I think it's very telling to bench Carr now because I think they're saying we saw what you can do. We don't like it. 24 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, 3,500 yards, 305 attempts for 502. 502 attempts, 305 completions. That's not a very good completion percentage. I believe it's around 60, maybe a little bit lower. Definitely, probably by far his worst season, other than maybe 2018 and his rookie year. But I'm not counting his rookie year. This is his best season. This is his worst season, considering the weapons we have. Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, even Mac Hollins. You also have Josh Jacobs having the best season of his career. The O-line's playing semi-decently. The defense playing better in recent weeks. Almost like closer to a top 10 defense than they are bottom 10 at this point in the season. Yeah, I think it's definitely a sign that the Carr era might be done in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, another thing that I kind of look at in regards to the whole situation as a whole, Josh McDaniels comes in, start the season 2-7, obviously a rough start. Carr hasn't played great this season at all. A lot of Raider fans, a lot of, the national media too. Is Josh McDaniels the right guy? Are the Raiders going to part with Josh McDaniels? I mean, week to week, we were looking for Davis to make the call and say you're fired. I mean, we were looking at that week to week, but I think it's clear that McDaniels will remain because, this
it's been confirmed at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. And it has to be. But a big reason for McDaniels wanting to come to the Raiders, he liked Carr, right? There were talks of maybe, Carr going to New England at times, before Mac Jones and stuff. McDaniels definitely liked Carr. He publicly said it a couple times, it had a big influence on him coming to the Raiders. He liked what he saw. I think that, I mean, as a Raider fan, we've been watching Carr this is his 9th year.
Yeah.
Nothing totally surprised me, if I'm being honest. I mean, I would have liked him to play at a higher level, but the interceptions, the getting sacked, being not that mobile didn't really shock me. I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's been the same Carr. I mean, like I said, I think a lot of people would have hoped that he kind of elevated a little more, but he clearly didn't. But I don't think that's enough reason for McDaniels to call it quits. I really don't, because he liked Carr. You said that maybe he came in and he saw how Carr played this year, and maybe that's why he's benching him and he's kind of going to part ways. But I think he knew what he was getting into with Carr. I really do. So it's with possible. That said, and with that said, that's why I feel like, he's it's crazy. It's such a crazy situation. It's hard to talk about and not, who knows what's going to happen. I mean, I think the only thing we know right now is this Sunday, depending on how Jarrett Stidham plays, it'll be very interesting on Monday, right? Because that's the next thing everyone's looking for. We saw
how does Stidham play? Yeah,
we saw the call today, and it was made that Carr's benched, Stidham's going to start. And the next is, let's see how Stidham plays, because if he goes out there, throws 3 or 4 interceptions, I mean, I don't know. You have the built-in excuse that it's versus one of the best defensive teams, but it's also, you also have the other excuse. He's playing with top wide receiver, top tight end. I mean, top wide receiver room, one of the top, if not the best running back. I mean, he has all the weapons. So it's like both sides, you can kind of jump on which side you want, but after Sunday, we'll be able to see,
Yeah. I mean, for me, if Jarrett Stidham plays well in a loss, because I don't think we win regardless of how our QB plays at this point, because I think the Niners are just that good of a team. I think if Stidham plays well and doesn't throw a pick and throws a couple touchdowns and throws for 250, 260, 270, maybe even 300 yards, and the offense looks solid, I think that just shows that even further that Carr just couldn't grasp the offense. He could not play well. He's not who we thought he would be in this scheme. I mean, you give him Devontae Adams, you give him Darren Waller. Well, he had Darren Waller, he had Hunter Renfrow, and you get Josh Jacobs to be one of the best running backs in the league, despite the O line not maybe being the best, but not the worst O line. That's for sure. They have their moments of being pretty solid. The defense has their moments of being solid, and he couldn't get it done. And ending off, like I said, 3,500 yards, 24 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. That's awful. For a 9-year veteran QB, he had some stinker games. The Saints game was atrocious. Again, that was a complete collapse by the team, but he looked terrible. You had the Rams game recently, looked terrible. You had the Steelers game, that just terrible, absolutely terrible. You cannot win the Super Bowl with a QB that cannot throw in the cold, that has a 40% throw touchdown percentage in the red zone, or 30%, or something low. You can't win. That you won't win playoff games like that. That's just not how it's going to happen, especially when the AFC at this point, especially for the next while, runs through Buffalo, runs through Cincinnati, runs through Kansas City. If your QB can't throw well enough to win games in those cold weather situations, you're not going to win in January, especially against those teams in the AFC. Yeah, I think I was just disappointed this whole year by Carr. I know me and you have differing opinions on Carr. You definitely, you like Carr and you definitely want to keep him. And I respect that. I think that there's definitely valid reasons to keep him. But this season has been nothing short of disappointment, in my opinion, from the team, Josh McDaniels, from Derek Carr, from just a lot of players. There's been a few bright spots, like our Pro Bowler players are the only ones pretty much that showed up every week in and out, that played well. But other than that, everyone's had their up and down performances.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say about Carr is, you said 24 touchdowns. That's not good. But again, going back to kind of what I was saying, I don't think that Carr, it's not what I didn't expect, I guess. Like, yeah, he had 24 touchdowns, which is not good, right? You want to have like 30 touchdowns around that area in a season. I mean, to be pretty good. But looking at it, 24 touchdowns is higher than 5 other of his 9 seasons, right? So like he's in that middle range. Like and you said he's played the Steelers game especially was just horrible in the cold. But we didn't expect him to be good in the cold. And we kind of, when we did your show last week, we said run the ball. We really didn't run the ball. It wasn't effective. It wasn't that effective, and we were passing it. So I mean, I don't know if the O-line struggled more in run block than normally, or Josh Jacobs didn't get the couple holes that he really can get and then break away. But the run game didn't click like it should have, because we are not a cold strength team in terms of passing. And it's just, we knew that, right? So I just think I think it wasn't unexpected, this whole season's performance. The only clause with that is we did get Adams. We did bring Adams in. We have very good tight end. We have very good other wide receivers. So Matt Collins stepped up. And then Josh Jacobs is a great complement to everything. So that is the problem. But Carr played kind of how Carr has always played, in my opinion. He just didn't take that next step. Yep. And then my only response to that would be first year new scheme. And I think give him another year or two, and I think he probably would take that elevation. But now it's a question of if we'll be able to see that or not. And I don't know. So yeah, we don't know. But looking forward at the Niners game, I mean, going into this game, the money line moved before the announcement made, so everyone assumed that means Derek Carr is being benched. But now the spread is at 10, which is, I would take the over on 10. I would definitely, I would take the over on 10. Over under of 41.5. The Niners are scoring 41, so take the over on that. This team was a scary thought even early on in the season. I wrote this off as a loss before the preseason even started. I was like, this game is not going to be pretty. It's going to be a hard one to win.
And I thought that we would do well enough in the middle that this game would not matter per se. It wouldn't be a win or go home type of situation, which was a good thing because you want to have those cushions with harder games. You built enough wins to lose some of these games, but we don't have that cushion. The cushion's gone. Our season's pretty much gone. We gotta see how Jarrett Stidham does against this defense, his top defense in the league. They only allow 15 points a game, which is absolutely bonkers. We allow 23, we score 23, they score 25. They have Nick Bosa, who's Defensive Player of the Year, coming to town. He's had a hell of a season. He's gonna be a game wrecker. Yeah, I don't know how you feel about this game, but I was never looking forward to this game.
Yeah. Well, Carr, Stidham, whoever's in there, it's going to be an extremely tough game for the Raiders. Now with Stidham starting his first NFL game against such a dominant defense, it's pretty interesting that they went with that decision, because I almost feel like that could really discourage like a young, first time start. I mean, that's kind of a interesting move in regards to that. But yeah, this will be interesting. And like I said, it's all eyes on Stidham. If he plays well, I'm going to be eating a lot of my words, and then, I might be jumping on the Stidham train. Who knows? But if he plays bad, again, it's just such a complicated, it's such an interesting situation.
If he plays bad, I'm just going to be like, yeah. That's just my expectations in this game were low, even with Carr. And I was like, if he throws three interceptions, regardless of cold weather, if he throws 3 interceptions against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, who's been up and down, good, bad, they've been a pretty solid defense, but not a great defense. If he throws 2 against the Rams, who don't have a fantastic defense either, although they played pretty well against the Broncos, but again, that's the Broncos. Even our defense played well against the Broncos. He's going to be benched in the third quarter because he's just going to be terrible. I had no confidence in Carr going in this game. Their defense is just too good. So with Stidham coming in, maybe he can take the Niners off guard because he doesn't have a lot of tape out there. He doesn't have any tape in our system out there except for the preseason, which is a bunch of non-plays. So maybe that'll help. Maybe that'll be an advantage now, but I don't see anything happening. I don't see us winning at all. It
certainly makes the game, much more interesting to watch.
Oh, absolutely. I'm actually excited to watch this game now.
Yeah, because I think, with playoffs dwindling, pretty much at, no chance, I think. Yeah. It's not fun watching a team that doesn't have anything to play for. But
you were going to the game, but you canceled your
yeah.
You said fuck this shit. Especially after Sunday, it's like, ooh.
Yeah, I was supposed to go out there, but I don't know. Not much of a point anymore. But with this news, I mean, it certainly makes the game more interesting to watch because we'll see what he can do with the same weapons that everyone have been, blaming Carr for not doing well with. And I think there's a lot of benefits and negatives to Stidham starting, in regards to one of the best defenses. So, that's a negative, but he's been in McDaniel's system longer than Carr has. So that's a positive. And, it'll be, I'm very excited. I'm very excited to see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, if he does outplay Carr, that's an interesting conversation to start discussing. Regardless of whether or not we catch the Niners defense off guard, they're too good to be caught off guard by Jarrett fucking Stidham with plenty of notice. So we'll see how he does. If he does well, that's a serious conversation we need to have about Carr, because that's embarrassing for him. If Jarrett Stidham can play well in a loss or a win against the best defense in the league, that's definitely something we need to discuss. But on the defensive side of the ball, they have a really, really good offense as well. You have Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, coming in relief of Jimmy Garoppolo, who's out for the season, who is in relief of Trey Lance, who's out for the season. So they're on their third quarterback, and he's playing pretty damn well, and that just shows how good this Shanahan offense is. But Purdy's been making plays on his own. He's been throwing it to Kittle. McCaffrey, Ayuk, all those guys. They have weapons all over the place. Every position has a weapon, especially McCaffrey and Kittle. They're a 1-2 punch if I've ever seen one. I think our defense is going to have a tough time, especially if we're going to be out Chandler Jones and Denzel Perryman and maybe others. We don't know yet. We don't know how the injury report's going to shake out this week. So it's going to be an ugly game on the defensive side, and I think it's going to be one of the worst performances of the season. It might be actually our first blowout loss other than the Saints game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to be hopeful. I would like to see Stidham do kind of well. I mean, why not? But it's very hard to, imagine that. But I mean, I'll always stay hopeful. So we'll see.
God bless you, because I'm not staying hopeful. I am done. I've been done. They gave me hope in that stretch of Seahawks, Broncos, Chargers, and then they shot it down so fast. They shot down all my hopes against the Rams on Thursday Night Football, and we're back to tanking basically because we have a chance to go from the 9th overall pick to the 6th overall pick, which could be huge if the Rams win a couple, if the Colts win some games. That could be a big swing in picks and who we can get. So here's to honestly hoping we lose at this point. I hope players play well, but I hope we lose. How about that? That's a positive negative. So before we go, because there's not much else to talk about really. It's really just to transition from Carr to Stidham now. And we don't even know what that's going to look like, but we'll see. What do you think the final score is going to be? With in mind the betting line being -10.
Yeah, well, I can't ever pick or project the Raiders losing. So I don't know how we would win, but if we were to, it would probably be like 24-21 Raiders.
That's, you know what? If we end up winning, it's going to be a shootout. But it's going to be like you said, a higher score game. I would even go into 35-31 type of score, like something stupid like that. But that's hoping Jarrett Stidham can play that well. In my opinion, it's going to be an absolute shellacking. We're going to get just destroyed. I'm being realistic here. I'll give some leniency with Stidham coming in. Maybe that'll help a little bit. But with Jones and Perryman out on the defensive side of the ball, it's literally just the Max Crosby show at that point. And they're going to key on him really hard, especially when you have one of the best blocking tight ends in Kittle on that side. So I'm going to say it is a loss. It's going to be a 41-17 loss by the Raiders. 41-17 loss. This is probably the biggest, most points I ever gave to an opposing team this season, honestly. This is the only blowout I've ever called, too. So, but my streak of us calling losses and us winning is over.
Ended last week.
Yeah, so this is just a straight up, I'm picking us to lose. 41-17 is going to be the final score. What a season, man. What a season.
It's been so
I can't wait for the off season. It's going to be a very interesting off season.
Yeah.
Next month and a half is going to be fascinating. But thank you guys so much for watching. Let us know down in the comments how you're feeling about Carr, Stidham, the offense, McDaniels, the Raiders in general, how you think the game is going to play out. I want to hear your score predictions and all that good stuff. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe to NJ Raider Nation over on YouTube down in the description below. And also follow him on Twitter at NJ Raider Nation 0. He makes good content. He puts out good stuff. So give him a follow and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Condor Season. I'm not very active on TikTok, but I am more active on Instagram now. So go check that out. Very active on Twitter. That's where I started. That's my home. Check me out there. Anyways, I hope you guys had a fantastic day. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out, Raider Nation.